Hello there, my name is Connor, and welcome to my presentation. The endangered species that I will be presenting today is the scalloped hammerhead shark. So to begin with, let's talk about some facts about them. Their scientific name there is the Sphyrna lewinii. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This particular species of hammerhead is considered critically endangered by the IUCN. Their titular head shape allows them to see in multiple directions simultaneously, which makes them more efficient predators. This particular species of hammerhead shark is named the Scalloped because of the indentations on the front of their head. You can best see it in this top right image here. If you look up here, you can see that sort of scalloped pattern. This species hunts at night and will feast on fish, stingrays, and smaller sharks, which occasionally includes members of their own species. The females will hatch about 12 to 38 at a time, and are also viviparous. Again, I hope I pronounced that correctly, which basically means that the eggs will hatch while inside of the mother's body still. This species is found in warm waters all around the world, and they are migratory, so they never really stay in one place for too long. So what's threatening them? To no one's surprise, really, it's mostly human activity. In particular, fishers very much overexploit them by seeking them out for their fins, as they are considered a delicacy in Asian countries and are used in foods including soups. However, many of these fishers will simply pull the shark out of the water, cut off its fin, and then just throw it back in where it will bleed to death. And this process is referred to as shark finning. Furthermore, because of the hammerhead's unique head shape, they are also particularly susceptible to being caught in fishing nets, which definitely adds another element of danger to them. So what's being done about them? Well, many countries have already banned the practice of shark finning. However, many people will still practice it illegally because of the high demand and thus high price of the fins in aforementioned Asian countries. Over in Australia, the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, which governs endangered species in Australia, lists scalloped hammerhead as endangered. However, it also lists them as conservation dependent, which technically does not restrict the commercial fishing of the species. So they are still definitely in danger on both of these fronts. So overall, because of this lack of enforcement and regulation, their numbers will likely continue to drop and potentially be driven more and more towards extinction if something is not done about it. So let's consider the question of if natural selection or biotechnology is an option for assisting the species in surviving. Overall, I would think it would not be super helpful, as they're mostly being overexploited, and so unless there's some adaptation that could help them not be overfished anymore, they would still likely have the same problem. One thing I considered to fight the shark finning process is to have them somehow grow another fin, which isn't connected to vitals, that can be harvested and then regrown. But obviously that's very specific and very challenging and potentially impossible under today's methods. Otherwise, changing any other aspects about the shark to reduce their potential harm from things like fishing nets would take away from the uniqueness of the species, as well as some of their hunting prowess if the head shape is changed in particular. So overall, I don't think this would be a good solution to help the species out. And the last question is, should the hammerhead be brought to Mars with us if we were to move there? And honestly, I don't think it would be a very good idea. Any water that is natural to Mars would probably be harmful to the species, and there probably aren't big enough bodies of water on the surface naturally anyways for them to be able to sufficiently live in. They are also migratory, so they wouldn't really have many places to go. The only method I could see them being used for is in a controlled and contained water environment to keep control of lesser fish species. But I feel like if we can get that level of controlled water environment on Mars, there's probably other methods of population control that wouldn't involve lugging a giant shark around and using it to very arbitrarily keep control of the population. They are quite big, so yeah, it probably wouldn't work out overall. So as cool of a species as it is, they probably wouldn't do well on Mars. And that's the end of my presentation. Here's my works cited, and I hope you enjoyed.